What's up, everybody, and welcome to Enjoying the Review. On this week's episode, we will be reviewing Agatha All Along, episode 3. I'm your host, Incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the phenomenal Ajay Singh. AJ, how you doing this week?
Good, good. Didn't realize we were doing an episode today. It totally slipped my mind, and I just took like a few edibles. So let's do this.
Actually, you know what you should do is you should get while you watch the episodes, and then you
Oh,
can
yeah,
report. You can
I did
give
that.
us the Stony Baloney report, where maybe there'll be something. You know how they say, like, if you people claim that, like, there's a weird thing with the Wizard of Oz where, like, it lines up to, like, a Pink Floyd album or something. I don't know. It sounds like maybe you'll have some sort of revelation if you watch these episodes stoned.
No, that's true. But the problem is that once you come down, you lose all of that. Like, and then you get again. There's no connection to that last high. You lose all. You might have a profound thought in that same session, though. Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, watching this episode, I would say I still enjoyed this episode, maybe slightly less than the first two. I think I would give this about a 6.5 out of 10. Because I can start to see um, the structure of this season and, like, the formula now. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, each of the next episodes is, it's going to be they encounter something. Um, they're going to need, the one person in their group, whatever they specialize in, to, like, solve the day, and we'll, slowly learn their backstory or whatnot. And I think there's definitely going to be a formula to these next several episodes. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's going to kind of follow the pattern that this episode started. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think we even talked about it last week. The road seems to be the whole, like, the central story of this season. So yeah, it's just going to be their journey, their struggles, their trials. Um, I guess the development of their relationships with each other, maybe along the way, of course, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they will touch on things that they already are, right. They're touching on Agatha's past and, like, decisions she's made and stuff like that. So uh, I do think, like, the past will be recalled a lot in the future here. I definitely saw the episode differently from you in the sense that I actually enjoyed it more.
Oh,
I
wow. Okay.
that is a step up from the first two episodes. I actually would have given I give this like a 8 out of 10 in that sense. I
Oh,
liked it.
wow. Okay. So you like this better? Cool. So we're gonna get into spoilers real quick. I'll keep this vague since we're not technically in spoilers yet. But they name a certain character's name. They name drop a name in this episode that you kind of talked about last week. Maybe I should just wait till we're in spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when they name drop that, I'm still, like, I'm very skeptical that any big revelation will come out of that by the end of this series. But
I
I'll
agree.
leave it there. We'll get into spoilers. Okay, so spoiler time. So this is episode 3, entitled "Through Many Miles of Tricks and Trials." So to start out with, they begin to walk the road, and they're kind of bickering with each other about things. One of those things being that Sharon apparently has no magical powers, and they're like, "What is she doing here?" Basically, which is a
Yeah,
pretty good complaint.
yeah.
So Lilia says that will face their greatest fears on the road, and Alice says that they will come in the form of trials. Agatha says the road will test their abilities with the craft, one trial for each skill. So that kind of lays out how these next several episodes are going to go. Jen asks how they will pass the trials without any magic. And since we don't technically know his name, I'm just going to say the kid, the boy, The kid
Yeah.
says there's always analog magic, labor intensive manual acts of magic. So, a couple questions there for you. Number one, was what Wanda did what robbed them of all their magic? I
No, I
can't.
think I think the what's her name, the potions witch, like, she was binded. I'm not sure, but by somebody bound. She was bound, and I guess that limited her powers or took them away. I think Wanda took away Agatha's powers for sure, and the third witch. I don't. Did she have powers? Did she lose her powers? I'm not 100% sure with her.
It seems like they're all kind of low on powers, but so maybe they all each have reasons why.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what
I didn't know if they all had like individual reasons or if like I couldn't remember if, like maybe Wanda did something that like would have messed with all of them.
I'm leaning towards individual reasons.
Okay. And the other thing is, okay, so he says they can use analog magic, labor intensive magic. Is that what they did in this episode with creating the potion? Would that be considered like a, an analog form of magic?
That's what I think because the way she described how she would have done it was like the wave of a hand. So I guess this is like the actual like step by step chemistry, putting everything together that the whole ingredients list it all works together and actually creates the thing that you need. So rather than her just having that magic in her, I guess I don't know.
Okay. Um. So once again, they ask like, "Who's this boy?" And he tries to say, and he can't, or they can't hear it. Lilia says that the kid cannot speak his name because someone put a sigil on him. Apparently, and Alice says a sigil is a redaction spell that hides something. So now we know what exactly that is. It's not allowing him to say who
But they
he
did make
is.
a point of saying that it was like a low level person spell, like somebody who isn't like maybe somebody who's more adept with magic would have done something differently. I imagine. So that's what it seems like.
Yeah, I think Agatha said like, I wouldn't, because they kind of wonder if she did, and she's like, I wouldn't like use a low level of magic like a sigil or whatever like that.
Yeah.
So while they're bickering, Sharon like breaks off from the group and goes off the road, and then like she starts to get like swallowed up by the ground, and she screams. So the others go and they pull her out and save her. And Agatha says that they follow the words of the ballad, they will be safe. Now, I assume she means like, what's weird is they set up that like Alice's mother was like this witch and rock star, and she had this famous ballad about the witch's road.
Mm.
Um, I almost feel though like maybe they should have like already played that song for us so we kind of had a context of what they're talking
Yeah.
about because they keep referencing that song and it was like we'd have no context for it really.
I I wasn't sure if it was referencing that song that they sang to like create like to make this whole thing happen in the first place to conjure the road because they sang a song then too. I wasn't
Right.
aware if that was any different from this one or what the deal was. Or now I'm okay. So you're saying that it might have been it was her mom that created the ballad and she was the one who.
Yeah. Well, apparently, so like the Asian witch, her name is Alice, and they
Yeah.
mentioned that her mom was named like Lorna Wu or something, and like yeah, she was this witch, but also a rock star, and she sang some famous song about the witch's road. Now, maybe that was the song they sang in the last episode, but I don't think they ever made that clear. So I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
So all of a sudden, Jen sees a house in the distance, and so they walk to the house. The door of the house has a full moon on it, and somebody mentions that's the water phase of the moon. So that kind of sets up the whole water thing we'll see in this episode. As they enter the house, they are all magically changed into like preppy type clothing.
Mm.
And Agatha notices that the door seals behind them, and like the door handle disappears. So they're like trapped in this house now. Jen remarks that she looks like one of her customers, like dressed in the preppy clothing. So they find an invitation in the house to the first trial, which contains a riddle. And the riddle is thus: my age has value, I'm no fun alone, I mess with your mind, my tricks are well known. So they see a bottle of wine on the table, and they put together that wine is the answer to the riddle. Um,
I'm kind of still confused about some of those things though. Like what tricks? I don't know, like, it gets you drunk. Is that the trick?
That's what I was wondering too. My tricks are well known, so I guess like, oh yeah, everybody knows that wine has a reputation for getting you drunk. Is that what it means?
That's the only thing I can imagine. I mean,
That's what I kind of took it as too, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
hmm.
Um, so they need a bottle opener, so Jen and the kid go to search for it. So they're kind of alone with each other. This I thought was like the most interesting dialogue of the episode. So Jen tells the kid not to trust Agatha and that she traded her own child for the Book of the Damned. So, we that first episode, she was looking in the room. Nicholas Scratch was the kid. So now we know that apparently was her son. And Jen thinks she somehow made a bargain or something and ended up trading him for the Darkhold. She says that nobody knows what happened to Agatha's kid. He might be dead, or he might be a demon, or AJ, he might even be an agent of Mephisto.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, look. So I agree that's far fetched that Mephisto's any real part of this, but I would like to believe that Mephisto is Sharon Hart. I would like to believe that.
We'll get to it because she dies at the end of this episode, and maybe she is really dead, but
Yeah,
I kind of do think she's going to come back in some way, somehow.
yeah,
I don't know for sure, but it just seems odd that they would just use her in this limited capacity.
yeah. I think I don't know. I think there's potential to do something there with that. So
I still kind of think, though, that we're not actually going to see. Well, I guess if Mephisto can take on any appearance, we could technically get the character of Mephisto in this show. Like maybe it is Sharon,
yeah,
but I don't think we'll get Mephisto as like his real form, like whatever actor they finally decide to hire to be Mephisto.
right.
I
Yeah, I agree.
um,
That's gonna be like a movie star when they actually like introduce Mephisto into the MCU. This is right now they're gonna just have like a regular person just take on his form. I imagine like he's just gonna be introduced
I don't.
if
You
he
know what?
is.
It still wouldn't surprise me though if they're just trolling the audience even more and they never do anything with Mephisto in this
Or
series.
that's the Quicksilver thing. We saw it before.
Yeah, yeah. I could totally see them doing that.
For sure.
Um, okay, this is another thing, a line of dialogue I thought was interesting, but I think it's a red herring. She says Agatha probably wouldn't recognize her own son if she showed up on her doorstep. So I mean that's meant to put into our mind like the possibility that this kid is actually Agatha's son. Now I
It
don't
only,
actually believe that.
yeah, it only made me feel the opposite. Really, I was like, now I don't think he is. Like, I think you, you mentioned that you thought it was Wiccan.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Not only because like he's got the right look, and we found out in like the first or maybe second episode that he is gay, which the character
Mhm.
Wiccan is gay in the comics. I mean, those could be also things to mislead us, like comic nerds like me that know things like that. But I don't know. I do kind of feel that he is going to be Wiccan, and we're going to find that out. But they could swerve us. I don't know.
It's hard to say because like they have done really obvious things, like where they at with Agatha. Like everybody kind of figured out who she was immediately. Um, I do think Marvel does try to subvert expectations.
Yeah, sometimes.
So I don't know if it's going to be that easy to figure out who this guy is. To be honest, I don't know. He, yeah, it could be any one of those characters. It could be something unique and out of left field, or maybe Mephisto's agent or something. I don't know. I don't know, but
Maybe he's Mephisto. No, I don't
maybe
know.
he's like just conjured by Mephisto to pretend to be something that makes them think he should be part of the group.
So Sharon drinks the first glass of wine, and then immediately a 30-minute countdown clock starts. Alice and the kid are on the couch, and he notices her tattoo and is like wondering about it. But at first, she doesn't want to tell the kid where she got the tattoo. Everybody starts drinking their wine, but Agatha pours hers out. The kid tells Alice her tattoo is designed to ward off curses. And then Alice says, oh, her mother made her get it because she said all the women in her family were cursed. And I think in the last episode, they mentioned that she's a protection witch. So I'm assuming like she can conjure up symbols and things that like protect them. That's going to be her thing.
You talking about how Agatha spilled out that cup of wine, it makes me feel like she didn't travel this road before, like she claims she has. I've gotten this suspicion already that she had not had prior experience with this road. Like,
oh, that's an interesting theory. I haven't thought of that.
Yeah, because like she claims that she there's moments where she seems stumped. Like it almost seems like she's experiencing things for the first time. And even here, like in this test, she should know by now that everyone has to take part in this. I imagine she should know that the rules are plainly stated. You have to abide by them. And it just seems out of character for somebody who's had experience with this to do that.
Maybe you're right. Maybe we'll figure out either like she really got her powers by doing the bargain where she lost her son, or maybe she did go on the road, but she was going to die or fail, and out of desperation, she made the deal that lost her son, or something like that. Like maybe she got on the road but never completed it, something like that. I could see that happening. That's a good theory, actually. So we see that Agatha's wine glass magically starts to fill up again. I forget exactly what the conversation was. The kid and Alice are talking again, and she mentioned something happened in her life when she was 13. And the kid mentions that a lot happened to him when he was 13. Yeah. And again, that kind of makes me think it might be a reference to him being Wanda's kid, because it seems like he would have been probably about 13 in WandaVision when like he, quote unquote died or disappeared. I don't know, exactly.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I definitely think a lot of the arrows are pointing towards Wiccan for sure.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, Sharon's face becomes puffy and distorted. It almost looks like she got like really bad plastic surgery or something. Yeah. The other witches that drank the wine start to also get the puffy faces. But then that doesn't last too long, and all of a sudden their faces go back to normal. So Jen determines that the poison that they drank in the wine is called Alewife's Revenge. She says next they will experience dizziness, delirium, and loss of motor function. And then she says after that they will experience hallucinations and finally death. Agatha tries to break out of a window, but it doesn't work. And then they put together that she never drank the poison. So they get on her about that because apparently they have to be all in or they can't like advance down the road. So Agatha reluctantly agrees to drink the poison. Okay, so Sharon has the first hallucination. And I remember she mentions like Wanda's name. I think she's like something about Wanda, leave my husband alone or something. I can't remember. In WandaVision, is that what happened? Is Wanda like killed her husband or something?
No, I think there was her husband was choking in that first episode or something. At the dinner party.
Yeah, I think she mentioned something about choking in this hallucination.
And I think in that episode she was like, save him, help him, or something. So I don't know what she was saying exactly, but it kind of seemed like this was her almost in that same like state where she's like, leave him alone, because she did have him under a state of like mental control or whatever. So I think maybe that was just her saying, like, being defensive of her husband.
Okay, so she was just like hallucinating back to that moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Um. So Agatha gets the puffy face, and she tells Jen that it's time for her to brew an antidote. So they kind of break into groups. Lily and Agatha look for petroleum products. At first, like they try to get some gasoline, but they can't find any. And then they're like, oh, like Jen's cosmetics aren't really organic. They'll have petroleum products in them. So they go to get those. So this I thought was weird. So while they're together, Lilia blurts out, I believe she says, try to save Agatha. And so I assume like her hallucination is beginning. But why would she say that exactly?
So, okay, this is gonna sound weird. This is gonna sound like obsessive now, but I feel like it was a message from some other higher. I don't know. Somebody who's in control of this whole thing, sending a message to them that at the end of the day, like, she has to survive. There's some sort of, she has some purpose. She has a role to play, maybe.
I could see that. So like maybe like down the line we find out that somebody is like,
Pulling the strings here.
yeah, something like that. Although it just seems if that was the case, it'd be weird that like, she's only in the room with Agatha, so she says it to Agatha, right? And Agatha's just like puzzled and she's like, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Like try to save me or whatever.
That's
Um,
true. Hmm.
if it was someone like pulling the strings trying to help them, it seems like she would have been in the room with somebody else.
Yeah,
And
that's true. Yeah.
so I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder what she would have seen to make her think that. She must
Yeah,
have
because
had.
like in a minute we're gonna get like a piece of her hallucination, and it doesn't seem to line up with that or even have Agatha in it. So I don't know. So yeah, now they're all gonna start having hallucinations. So Alice hallucinates seeing her mother in like a steam room. Lilia hallucinates seeing an Italian girl who like may or may not be her. I'm not. I'm a little unclear on that.
Yeah, I don't know. That was very The Shining reference, right? Like, isn't that what it looked like?
I mean, I know The Shining has like the two twin little girls.
But the hallway looks so much like The Shining, right? Like, did am I? I don't know. It looked like it to me.
To be honest, I've seen clips of The Shining, but I've never seen the whole movie. So you may very well be right. It might be like a visual reference to The Shining.
Mhm.
Um, and then Jen hallucinates seeing some like evil man from her past. I wasn't sure who that guy was. Like if he was like one of those like Salem witch trial guys. It was like you're a witch, or like if he was like a priest. I wasn't sure what that guy was.
Yeah, I don't know either. That was I figured they'll elaborate on that in the future.
Yeah, probably there'll probably be another episode where we'll get more of that or something.
Yeah.
So Alice's mother keeps like lighting a lighter, and she tells her that her grandmother died today, and she says now it's her turn, and that it's gonna kill her, like referring to like something.
Mm.
Again, like some of these visions are like strange. I don't think we're necessarily totally meant to understand them. That one I certainly didn't. And then also, like I believe Alice's mother in this vision, like she drinks something. I don't know if that was also meant to be poison or something. I don't know.
Yeah, in that vision, she did drink something. Yeah, I couldn't make sense of that either. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't either. Um, so Lilia, like she's following the Italian girl, but then she sees like some corpses that appear to be dressed as nuns. I
Okay,
was
so
like,
that was part of this reference. I felt like it was a nun slash Shining reference, because the hallway looked like The Shining, but the girl herself was very much looking like that scene from the nun in The Conjuring, or the nun scene in The Conjuring, where they see the nun for the first time in that hallway. So, I mean, that is a hallway scene. The hallway looked more like The Shining to me, and then the nun very much looked like the nun in that scene. So I don't know.
so maybe just an ode to like a couple horror movies.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, this is like a Halloween theme, so it might just be like, throwing out like references to scary movies in that way.
the only thing is like if it's supposed to give us a clue as to her like backstory, like that didn't do much. Like maybe in future episodes we'll get like even more, but
Yeah, I imagine they'll definitely get into it.
and then the mysterious evil man tries to drown Jen like in the sink. Um, but then they come out of their hallucinations. They all gather their ingredients. Uh, but then the window starts to crack and water starts to pour in, and they realize that they are basically in an ocean of water now. And if they don't solve this by the time the 30 minutes is up, they're all going to drown inside the house. So as they are brewing the potion, Agatha hallucinates seeing her baby in a crib, but when she pulls the blanket back, it's revealed to be the Darkhold. Or at least that's what I was assuming. It's like a quick shot. But is that what it was?
Yeah, I actually think at some point they make a reference later that that is what happened. I don't know, maybe not. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
confused.
yeah. I didn't know if that was totally like symbolism or like, or maybe to believe that's essentially what happened.
Mhm.
So they almost run out of time, but then they realize they need the kid's blood because they need somebody's blood that didn't drink, and he was the one, in order to finish the potion, which they do. I wrote they almost forget about Sharon and they give her the antidote at like the very last second. Um, the house begins to flood, but like the oven opens up and like is their escape like back to the road. So they all go through the oven. So then they all like they're basically on a water like uh not slip and slide, but um like slipping on the water like down a
Yeah,
hill or whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
And so they all spill out back on the road. But then they realize that Sharon is dead. So that confused me because I'm like, they gave her the antidote at the last second. So are we just supposed to believe like she didn't get the antidote in time, or are we supposed to believe that like I don't know the fall killed? I guess the poison. I guess I don't know. I was a little confused by it.
I think what happened was so everybody was to take part in that potion, right? And I don't remember her putting her strand of hair in there. Did she put her strand of hair in there? I don't. I think she was passed on the sofa when they
She
did
was
that.
passed out, so like if it got in there, they would have had to pull it from her head. I don't know if they did that or not.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe that's it.
Could be.
Maybe I don't know.
You think they might do a thing where like every episode, like somebody appears to die, and then it
I
just
think so.
dwindles. It,
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll do that. I could see them doing something like that, and then it dwindles down to like Agatha and
I
somebody.
was thinking that it's going to come down to Agatha and Teen, and then Teen's going to be revealed to be something at the very end.
But if you're maybe right about Sharon and she's eventually revealed to be someone else, then maybe they wouldn't do that.
Possibly, yeah. Um, I I think about the future of this show and what we might see with regards to Agatha's backstory, and this is all just like while we're discussing this is coming to mind. And if I did double down on this Mephisto theory, I would think that potentially Mephisto maybe manipulate Agatha as the daughter of a witch, to like make that trade. Maybe, oh, well, you're not as powerful as your mother or whatever. Maybe it's Mephisto who like made this whole thing happen in the first place. Is like even now manipulating her, like, and then maybe who knows? I don't know. Possibly.
Yeah, there's a few things like I still think like we'll get a reveal one way or another. Like because we had the last episode where like she kept seeing the animals like following her.
Mhm.
So I assume we'll eventually get the answer to like was that Mephisto or was that someone looking after her? Definitely, something. The other thing I wonder about is if we'll. This is something they might not answer, but I found it peculiar. Remember that like she took Sharon because there was another witch on the list she didn't want to deal with. I wonder if we'll find out like who that was.
Oh, that was her. Wasn't it that lady who was in the first episode? The one who broke her out of that whole scenario?
Oh, yeah, you could be right. You know what? That's something I totally forgot that Aubrey Plaza was even in this.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Because, yeah, they didn't really use her this episode, so I totally forgot about her. Yeah, when do you think she's going to come back into the show?
I mean, at least the last episode, I imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd think they would show her a few times before the last episode, but yeah, I actually totally forgot about her.
Yeah. You know, I forgot to mention this, but in like the first episode where Kathryn Hahn character Agatha goes to that bookstore to talk to that lady, um, that bookstore looks a lot like the bookstore from this Netflix show. You like I think they did reuse that set there for that one.
I could see something like that happening.
I do catch that sometimes from show to show. Like I'll be like, that's the set from that. Like that's wild. You can actually see that sometimes.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned the that library because remember also like when she discovered the burnt out books, there was that like mysterious man that
Oh
like
yeah.
appeared.
Oh right.
So like there keeps being like mysterious figures throughout like this show. So I am kind of wondering if eventually we'll be like, oh, Mephisto or somebody was all of these people. It was that guy, it was Sharon, it was the animal, something like that.
Right. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I think there's going to be some sort of reveal
Oh, for sure.
like that.
Yeah.
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 Um. But yeah, that was episode 3. Any final thoughts, AJ?
I think this show is on upward trajectory so far. Um, I just like that fact that the timing was good for this show. It's right around Halloween season. It's got the right flavor, the right seasoning for this season, right? It's a little creepy, but it's fun. Uh, yeah, I like the whole vibe. I do think the writing is kind of like WandaVision. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue. You can have a lot of theories, so that's fun about this show. It adds that dynamic, and yeah, I like this. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, if they were going to do this show, it'd almost be weird if they didn't put it at Halloween time. It's kind of the
Right.
perfect time for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still enjoyed this episode. Looking forward to next week's episode. So everybody out there, what do you think of this episode? Comment below. Let us know. As always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thumbs up, positive reviews. If you like, you can follow me over at Twitter/X at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. Forgot how to spell for a minute. But yeah, that'll do it for the show today. And until next time, we hope you're enjoying the review. Bye, guys.
Take care, guys.